arose to serve his beloved. So that was my father. So I thought I would end with a picture of my mother and my father. And then I believe this picture is at the Baha'i Center. So thank you so much for listening to me. I'm sorry I've taken up so much of the time, but I felt that a PowerPoint presentation with some pictures would be, in some way, a small tribute to what my father has done in his lifetime. It's interesting to note that here is a man who became a legend in his own lifetime. So there you are. I hope I have given some sense of what it was like in those days and what it can be for each and every one of you. You know, this is a very exciting time, this 21st century. In a sense, we are on the verge of discovery. We are discovering what it means to be one world, to live in a global planet, and how interconnected we all are. Very, very exciting time. And I hope I can live for another 50 years to see it all happening. Thank you so much indeed.
Pila Bahá'í belt. He was controlling the whole area. He was working in the JKR, and there he had conducted a lot of estate teachings. He is the first Baha'i in this community to have convinced the management to give a Baha'i center in an estate. Why no clapping? Okay. Not only that, he was the first, along with Leong Tachi and a few early believers, to open up the Asli teaching areas in Negeri Sembilan, Fort Iskandar near Romping, and another area near Mantin. But they were not very receptive to the faith, but an assembly was formed. He also opened up Merlimau. And you know, ever since he came to Kajang, he has been also serving the faith very effectively. He's one of the closest friends of Leong Tachi. You'll be seeing the photographs afterwards. The other person is, can Mr. Chandrasekharan come up? I just saw you sitting there. Mr. Chandrasekharan, the brother of Dr. Vasu. Is Raymond still around? Raymond, who does not give much reports. He doesn't believe in publicity. I'm not talking about Jemmy, I'm talking about Chandrasekharan. Now, he had opened up areas like Bilut Valley together with Kit, Bilut Valley, and the interiors of Pahang at a time when it was not difficult, it was not easy to go. In 1969, he was in Bilut Valley, and after that in 73, he was in Segamat, opening up those difficult areas. He's one of the 10-year Crusade Baha'is. Now he's doing a wonderful work in Muka in Sarawak. He's now back for good after retirement. Thank you very much. Now, Raymond, I wanted to as a witness that you made a statement that is a national achievement that they've accepted the faith. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I know you're restless. I'm also equally restless. The organizers have given me 1 hour, but I promise. Is either me or the microphone? Okay, friends, I promise to cut short within half an hour. I've been told to take you all down the memory lane. There's no history here, just some photographs. And I want to thank the many non-Baha'is who gave me the photographs. All right? And maybe, probably, this is the first time your eyes are going to fall on these photographs. So, I will not elaborate on every person who is there, but I'll just say these are the activities by and large who have taken place in this community. Okay? Can we have off this light, please? I don't want to be highlighted. Can we off the light? Otherwise, it's blurred. including this. There's maybe this part. Now this, you don't need any introduction. You know the faith came through Mustafa Rumi. In 1883, the faith was first mentioned in Penang. Then after that, Mataru came in 1930. Then after that, Fosdas came down. You don't need any introduction. Mr. Leong Hosen has already said about these two, especially Dr. Fosda. Now, when she came, she wanted to develop on the earlier contact, Mami Fosda, and she had met Yankee Leong in the Gandhi Pacifist Conference in India. This was started by Rabindranath Tagore. Therefore, she cultivated contact and communicated with him and asked him to arrange a round of firesides in this country, Penang, Kuala Lumpur and Seremban. She came for a tour personally in 1952, and it was only the 1953 tour that Yankee Leong accepted on the 19th of December 1953. Then the first assembly was formed in Seremban in 1954. In Malacca, the first assembly was formed in 1955. And you can see, I'm sorry I don't have that laser jet. On the extreme right standing is actually Saurajan, who was introduced as the father of the Malaysian Malacca Bahá'í Community. He was the first Bahá'í in 1954 in this community, but he has left the faith. Then you rouse the Gas, who accepted the faith together with Leong Tarchi. He worked with him. On the extreme right seated is Dr. Fosda, and the lady there is Lina Saurajan. On the extreme you have Piyush Kantipol and Mirinal Kantipol. Tushar Kantipol had not accepted, he had accepted the faith, but he was a youth. Okay? This is the first assembly of this community. 1957, this is the election of the RSA, 30th of April 1957. You can see the Malacca Baha'is, Leong Tachi on the extreme right. The one with the tie is Saurajan. And there, Yankee Leong is behind Furutan. Mami Fosda is there. That is Payman. And here you can see Kishan Kamani seated there, Jamshed Fosda. Okay, this was the beginning of administrative functions in our country, but from external point. Now, before head of the course of God Mohajer came, they got a lot of inspiration from the conference. They were told to organize local conferences, teaching conferences. This is the first teaching conference in Malaya, but it was initiated in Malacca. Again, you can see Saurajan, Paul is there, Leong Tachi is also there, Yankee Leong is there, Mami Fosda, Dr. K.M. Fosda, Kumaradas is there. Can you see? Somewhere in the center. Okay, next. This is the first Baha'i Asli community in Simpang Bekok. Okay, this was in 1957. The person who took the photograph naturally cannot be here, and that is Anthony Lewis. Now, Anthony Lewis and Saurajan was a teacher in Malacca High School. They got hold of some Asli boys who were studying there and asked them to organize firesides. So they started to visit the Asli areas, and they became Baha'is in 1957. This photo was taken in 58, but they started work on this community in 1957. This is the first in this country. So again, the credit goes to the Malacca community for opening up the first Asli community. This is the first summer school, Pan-Malayan summer school, from the 27th to 29th of December 1957. This was held, that is the house of Sauraj in Gawan quarters, 17 Fort Terrace, Malacca. Is no more, they're demolished. You can see a lot of Baha'is are there. For the first time, you can see one person wearing dark glasses standing, and that is Raymond Peter. You also have many others here. Saurajan is here, Jami Maniam is seated here. And you know, with one touch of, Baha'u'llah says, one touch of moisture, even the hardest clay can melt. So many writings were read at this conference, nobody melted, but you can see a dot melting away on the, spirit was so strong that Baha'is were not moved, the dot was moved. Now this is the Sunday class I'm talking about. This was initiated in 1957. Kumaradas is here, and that is Anthony Lewis. The small boy there is Jami Maniam, standing there. And this is Jeffrey Cow, Errol Siao, Purushottam Nair. Okay? This went on for about 2 years until the problem started in Malacca. Now this is the second youth committee. The first committee was formed very informally in 1957 with assistance and guidance coming from Dr. Mohajer and the NBYC of India. This is the second. And here you can see Errol Siao, Anthony Lewis, and this is Mohajer and his wife. And you can see on the right, Anthony Lewis' wife. Okay, in 1958, remember the conference which was called the Jakarta conference, which was later transferred to Singapore at the very last moment. Now this was the last among the 5 intercontinental conferences. 9 hands of the cause of God visited, and this was the biggest, represented all the religions and all the races. Here the portrait of Baha'u'llah was shown, and Baha'is were allowed to see once. There was one Baha'i who was mischievous. He took 2 rounds and saw the portrait of Baha'u'llah, none other than the one and the only Raymond Peter. 2 Baha'is went up to volunteer as pioneers even before they were married. One was Raymond Peter again, one and the only Raymond Peter and Anthony Lewis. So they were the first to volunteer to pioneer abroad. They come from Malacca. First wedding of Southeast Asia. Now this is, of course, this took place on 5th of October 1958. They went down for the conference in Jakarta, in Singapore. And there, Saurajan suddenly announced, it was not part of the program, he announced, 2 Arabians came up and gave their rings and went out. Now what happened, many Baha'is wanted to come. Lero Ayers had just undergone bypass operation, and he said he couldn't come, he had to go back. But 2 hands of the cause of God were so touched that they decided to come for the wedding. And this is the wedding, and these are the 2 hands of the cause of God who just came for the wedding and went back. One is Faizi, and the other is Agnes Alexander. That was the only time she came, but Faizi had come 4 times. This was on the 5th of October 1958, the day when Errol Siao accepted the faith. Bill Smith, he attended the same Singapore conference in 1958. And then he came down on a short visit to Malaya. This is in Seremban. You can see the painting of Yankee Leong in Seremban Baha'i Center. He's no more there. He was the one who bought the land Bukit Baru and donated to the NSA in 1964. So our institute is actually on the land that was donated by him. Now in 1960, these are the last few photographs you'll be seeing in the house of Saurajan. There were 2 Baha'i centers, 2 places were prominent for Baha'i gatherings. One is the house of Saurajan. This is the house of Saurajan. You can see Jami Maniam seated here, Tony Fernandez, Anthony Lewis, Saurajan, and a few others around there. Tushar Kantipol. Raymond is at the extreme left. Raymond is everywhere, you know. Especially in photographs, huh? It's everywhere. Now this is the first all-Malaya teaching conference to be held in this country. This was called for by Dr. Mohajer. Now about the summer school I mentioned, that was a 1957, the first summer school. That was a summer school where proper plans were given for Malaysians. And that is a plan which is still on today, without we being conscious of that, because the plans were given, 10-point programs were given by hand of the cause of God Mohajer. That was a conference where correspondence course was initiated. Here, this was the first conference to be organized, all Malaya teaching conference. We did not have more than 12 local spiritual assemblies around this time. The bills were all settled by Wang Kok Mi of Kuala Lumpur. You can see now, you can see Kishan Kamani there. Betty is also here. Cherry is there. Cherry had already accepted the faith by then. You can see Raymond, again Raymond there. Second, Liang that is there. Yankee Liang is there. Mrs. Liang there. Lily Chinaya, the most beautiful lady in this photograph, Miss Lily Chinaya is here. Okay. Next. Now, immediately after that conference, Mohajer had a liking for the Asli people. He went and spoke. He went and spoke to the Asli believers. Now, is Somo around. They attempted to translate but Mohajir was speaking in very simple and fluent Bahasa Malaysia. So when he was speaking, he wanted to use the word revelation, and Somu couldn't translate. Then Mohajir said Sinaran. After that, he didn't want any more translators. He kept on speaking in simple Malay. Mohajir was very good in Malay because he's from Indonesia. Right. Simpang Peko, the first community in this country to have got burial ground. This is from the authorities, Municipal Secretary of Malacca, 1960, 20th of August. That burial ground is no more. We have come to another area. I was talking about the first commemorative issue on the visit of Amatul Baha to this country. This was produced by two people, Raymond Peter and Tony Fernandez. Now the problem that they underwent is really not easily told. They really had a lot of problem coming out with this. And of course Raymond Peter, in all his sincerity, tried to do something good, and he paid a heavy price for that. As soon as Amatul Baha landed in Sungai Besi Airport, he gave a copy, and she was very upset. You know why? Two photographs appeared side by side, facing each other, the Guardian and Amatul Baha's photograph. She said, you should never place both photographs together. And again, Tony Fernandez went to kiss the hands of Amatul Baha. She said, this is not allowed in the faith. So, there were a lot of learning lessons, meeting hands of the cross of God. Now, friends, you must be very clear that the assembly, first assembly was formed in Seremban. First believer in this country comes from Seremban. Now, Yang Kiliong is the first believer of Malaya, but the 16th believer of Malaysia. Because before he had accepted, there were already 15 others who had accepted in Sarawak. Now, the list is already available with us. But the House of Justice calls him the first enlightened believer of Malaysia, meaning the others were not enlightened. They had lost hope. So, he is the first enlightened. So, while the first believer comes from here, manpower and inspiration all came from Malacca. This is because there was one fatherly figure who remained and guided the Baha'is, that was Kadirvelu Raja. And Yang Kiliong was never there. He was all along travel teaching throughout his life. Therefore, there was no proper group to come and guide. So Leong Tachi and many others came and guided. Vasudevan also used to guide from time to time. Anthony Lewis took upon himself to guide the youth. You have Sabapati on the extreme left. This is Satanam, 21 years old, Satanam. And you have Nick Singham there. Who else? The others are no more with us. Now remember, this was the last, not last, farewell party for Mr. and Mrs. Lily Chinaya before Inbound went to Kirby, Liverpool. So you can see that the chess characters are not removed yet, but they were removed after this. The altar and all those were removed. This is the LSA of Malacca in 1961. You have Tony Fernandez, who was assistant OCPD then. This is Bhaskaran, again Raymond Peter. Then Usha Kanti Paul, the first youth in this country. Bhaskaran, Vasudevan, Liam Tachi, Daisy, Betty, and Chia Kimlin, who married Helen Liam in 1965. Okay, this is the assembly in 1963. Again, Daisy, Kimlin, Leong Tachi, Ko Irene, Tusha Kantipol, again Raymond Peter. This is Bhaskaran, Vasu, and Kumaradas. Okay. Now this is the London conference. I think you've seen this many times. This is Eleanor Wolf. That is Dr. R.J. Wolf, with whom Leong Hosan worked to open up the Asli areas in Perak. Kimlin is here, Lily is there. This is Auntie Shanta Sudhar. This is Jim Frankel, Tony Fernandez, and that is Leong Hosan. Historical moment. This is again the summer school in Malacca Youth Hostel. That was going on for about 5 years. They had permanently booked the Malacca Youth Hostel because that was the most popular, most comfortable area, comfortable place, which was affordable by both Baha'is who are rich and poor. If this is the same, again the same. This is a marriage of Chia Kimlin to Hanan Lam. Now, I think Leong Hosan has shown something. Now, I just want to say that Leong Tachi and his wife were really parents, spiritual parents for many of us. They took upon themselves from 1957 to look after all the catering of food, cooking. They themselves were marketing, they themselves did the cooking and serving as well. So long as he was alive, even as board member, he tried his very best to serve and be of service to others. At all summer schools and later winter school, he was not around with us anymore in 1972. But in all summer schools, they made it a point to do marketing, cooking and serving for everybody. They just wanted to be simple servants to everybody. Now, many things can be written about all the Baha'is we have seen so far. This is one of the teaching trips that he made, Chinese teaching trip. He was obsessed with teaching. Mohajer told him, you must not serve the car must serve you. And his car is about the earliest or the first to have gone around the entire country. It was a Morris Minor, not yet Volkswagen, which has gone around the country teaching the faith. Now this is the famous groundbreaking ceremony at Bukit Baru in 1965. You see Kumaradas is here, Kumaradas. And Vasu is there, Inbam is there, Raja is right at the back, Raymond is down there, Leong Tachi is there. This is Mrs. George Lee who donated a lot of money for publications, and also she donated the center in Stapak. And every time Mohajer wanted money for the faith, he used to tell her, you donate the books. He never asked for cash. Say, look after this, you look after that. She was ever willing. We have groundbreaking ceremony. This is the offering of prayers. This is, this is the prayers at the same function. You can see Yankee Leong and Raja, Uncle Raja saying prayers here. Then, these were some stones taken from the Guardian's tomb and they were buried there by Mrs. George Lee. Finally, it was opened on 2nd of January 1965. The official opening was done by Mr. Leong Tachi. He's right there in the center. Now this institute has served the faith as never before. It's a great institution. It's all in history. This is the 1966 summer school in Malacca Youth Hostel. This is a sea view. You can see Kannaya Adekalam here from Malacca. He pioneered to India. From there he went to Senegal and the Gambia and a few other countries. Right now he's in Los Angeles. You can see Uncle Nagarattam down, Ganesha Murthy at the extreme and squatting. Many others are there. Okay. Again, this is Raymond Peter in his usual behavior, eating a lot of food. And he was always high in spirit. Raymond is another person who speaks very spontaneously, a person with a lot of humor, and he's one of the best speakers we have seen around. You can see Ko Eiling is also there, Tony Fernandez is there, Jemmy Maniam is here, Abasu is at the back. This is another photograph of Estate Baha'is who came down. This is Annamalai. I don't know how many of you remember. Originally from Saramba, now he's there. This is K. Krishnan, the Asli teacher who went to India. Raymond is there, Tusha Kantipur is there, Vasu is here. Right. This is the arrival of Samandari. Samandari came to this country 3 times. He came first in 1961, then in 1966 July, finally in January 1967. This is arrival at the Batu Barandam airport here, 66 July, a meeting with the Baha'is. Now this is Sohail Samandari, a famous artist, very artistic person, very talented person. This is seeing him off. You can see Sadasivam is here, that is one Mr. Krishnan. This is Sadasivam of Majid Tana. Is he around here? Yes. Yeah, okay, right. This is an auxiliary board member from Thailand, Offa Dawatari, who was here in this country only for 1 year, but she created a lot of impact. She was helpful in opening up Masjid Tana. She also organized the Chinese conference there. She came up with what was called the Triple Purpose Plan. Now this was one lady who had started the posters, but unfortunately needed a lot of money, therefore she could not stay here longer. She had to go to Sarawak from here. But while she was here, within that 1 year period, she created a lot of activities for the promotion of the faith at a higher level. Isaac is there. Isaac. Isaac is here, and this is Isaac Satnam. First time I'm seeing Jamie Mani with sunglasses. Okay, and you see Mariappan is here, the first travel teacher to Manti. This is Offa Dowtry. Again, Raymond is here. Lily Ring. This is Vasu. Kumaradas is there. Sada is there here. Okay. And this is Pauline, Isaac's wife. Okay. Now these are some of the early posters. IDs were given by Offa Dowtry and Sada Sivan developed on that. Next. Early posters which really helped. Now I'm just taking you back to Malacca. All this had happened in Malacca alone, not elsewhere, friends. Okay, this is the final coming of head of the Kosovo Samandari in January 1967. This was immediately after the conference that took place in Singapore. And this is his grandson, Mehdi Samandari. Okay, he passed away in Holy Land in 1968. Okay, you can see a lot of Baha'is. This is the institute again. In 1969, because of 13 May, there was no summer school. Therefore, the Baha'is decided to hold training institutes. And this is the one that was replacing summer school in its own small way. Now, in 1970, there was a day-long teaching conference in Malacca. I must say that the first Baha'i to have donated his house for the faith was Leong Tachi. At the 1967 convention, immediately after he said that, before the applause could stop, Leong Tachi said that, and before the applause could stop, Yankilim stood up and donated his piece of property in Sramban. So this has been Baha'i Center for all intents and purposes right from day one. Alright? This is the youth also. This was also a place not only for institutes for study of the writings but also for conferences. You can see all the youths jubilating in the second regional youth conference in 1970. Now, this was taken in 1971, immediately after the Oceanic Conference. You may remember the book Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This was the inaugural appearance for Prabhakaran, who is seated here. Is Prabhakaran there? Is Prabha there? Prabha is there. The walking tall Baha'i. Prabha is here. He was giving a talk for the first time. Leong Tachi encouraged him to give a talk on Tomorrow and Tomorrow, condensation of the talk. Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Leong Tachi believes in developing talents of Baha'is. So he had a lot of liking for Leong Tachi. You can listen to a lot of stories from Prabhakaran about Leong Tachi. And this is the person, there is a movie, You Only Live Twice. His voting right was removed twice. Govindana. It's no more with the faith. Now you may remember Elizabeth Gibson, who was here for about a year. She's here again. This is actually a teaching conference which took place in 1971. So it was actually a hive of activities. The house of Leong Tachi was a hive of activities. Now this is the only visit of Hand of the Cause of God, Jalal Kazay. Jalal Kazay touched down in Singapore, then he went to Sarawak for the National Convention. He was not scheduled to come to this country, but a lot of telephone calls and personal visits were made. Finally, he decided to come for a lightning visit. He came down at short notice. All the Baha'is were gathered at the institute. He spoke from the evening right up to 10:30 p.m. Now, two things. He made a very complex subject very easy, and that was Baha'i administration. He kept Baha'is in teachers, one. Number two, for the first time he was an army general. He observed things going on in Sarawak and in Singapore, and he also passed a message to the Malaysians that National Convention is meant for strict Baha'i business. Delegates and observers should not be mingled together, should not be seated together. There must be a clear demarcation line. So that was the message he gave in 1972. 1973 onwards, delegates were in the front, observers were at the back. And we started to go along administrative guidelines given by him. He was quoting from the Guardian and the Baha'i administrative procedures. So his visit to this country helped in two ways. Summer school, again 1975. From then onwards, summer school went on in the Malacca High School for some time. This is for Malacca town. Alor Taja, very briefly, I'll say, this is the first assembly in 1960. Raymond is here, and this is Inbam, and that is Auntie Lily. This was 1960 again. 61, the assembly of Alagaja. This is one Joe, Pisco, who came down in his lap. Now I want to tell you an important person here, that is Palaniandi. Palaniandi is actually, K. Palaniandi is actually the brother of Dr. Singara Velu. He accepted faith in 60 and he had done a lot of services of the faith, especially translation of Baha'i materials into Tamil language. He was one of those earliest Baha'is who had worked together with people like Vasu and T.K. Kannan and started to do something for the Tamil-speaking believers. He was also there translating for Rukia Khanum in 1961 when she came down, and again in 1964. Jasin, very quickly, this is Jean Frank was talking about, the spiritual mother for many of them, such as Raymond Peter and Arthur Knight. She had come to our country 4 times. It was during the second visit that lasted from October 1957 to April 1958 that she started to travel across the country. She came to Jasin. She had a lot of liking for Jasin. Raymond accepted the faith through her. And this is the first assembly of Jasin. Here you can see, this is Surinder Singh. Guess, who is that Singh? That is Satyavan Singh's brother. Okay? He was very early. Even in 1958, he had cut off his turban. But it took longer time for Satyavan Singh. This is Raymond Peter, only 21 years old. Anthony Lewis. This is R. Mugam Ramanan, Tamil school teacher, who gave Baha'i material to Bhaskaran. And this is Chakravarti, estate manager. This is Arthur Knight in Kuala Lumpur, Tony Fernandez, Tushar Katipur. Okay, when he went there, he was the first travel teacher in Hope Front Point in this country. When he first went there, he was a youth, then he was elected into the assembly. Now he's in Australia. This is the Jasin Baha'i community in 1960 again. This is estate teaching in Malacca. You can see Dr. Vasu is here. Now, estate teaching actually started in Jasin on a very small scale. Then it took momentum, greater momentum in 1960 together with Asli communities. So here is a picture of people entering by the troops. At that time, then it stopped. Masjid Tana, very briefly. This is Orfa Dawatri, who had organized the first Chinese teaching conferences in Masjid Tana. And you can see here, Sadasivam at the extreme left, Raymond is here. All right. Now, when Mohajer came down, Dr. Mohajer came down, he had asked the Baha'is here to develop the material for the children. He himself ordered some material from the United States and possibly may not live long. So I wanted to sign up while he was still alive, to have done that. The other one is, of course, Leon Tachi for Malacca Baha'is. Okay? Thank you very much.